Well, alrighty then. I've returned. I got interrupted. So sorry. Anyway, so we're talking a little politics, which I'm sure you didn't want to. A lot of you don't want to hear about it, so I'll get all of it. But just look at that panel. Biden announces more than 500 sanctions. After the Russians killed an American prisoner. Well, how about the hundreds of thousands of folks in Europe that died? The Ukrainian. I mean, it's probably 500,000 or 600,000 young people between both sides that died so far in 2 years, and it's not done. And they're going to be fighting another year because Biden isn't going to do anything about it. You can write that down. I don't know who's running the White House. This guy ain't pushing the buttons. He's heading to the beach. Yeah, he's heading to the beach. There we go. I'm playing technology here. Sorry for my intermittent speech. All right, so South Carolina. We got the Republican primaries. Biden doesn't have any primaries because he's afraid of being superseded, I think. You know? People don't want to let go of power, you know? This guy, he doesn't want to let go of that. You know, every time you walk out the door, you got a band playing, you know. You get to fly around in this huge airplane, you know, the Air Force One. I mean, it's massive when it's outfitted with conference rooms and bedrooms. I'm sure this guy takes lots of naps in the airplane. One thing about Trump, you got a 20-hour day out of him. This guy, you're lucky if you get, a 6-hour day out of this guy. He works 10 to 4. That's it. That's 6 hours in my book. You know, you get a full 8-hour day out of this guy. Trump, you got 20 hours. Yeah, he goes on 4 hours of nap time, you know. I don't even call that sleep. And he's sharp as a whistle, so don't tell me 80. The age is not the issue. It's the mental acuity, okay? I know 60-year-old people that are, not so quick upstairs. And it's not because of anything other than the fact they're not so quick upstairs. Now, you add a little dementia to it, and then you really are not so quick upstairs. And that's what you got going with Bite Me Biden. Nikki Haley vows to stay in the race no matter what happens. Now, why would... Now, of course, the candidate says that. If she loses her own state by 10 points or more, whatever, she loses her home state. She's, those people know her best. And if they pick him over her, or Trump over her, you know, you got to look in the mirror and say, yeah, this ain't going anywhere. Trump answered that question best. You know, on, what was it, Tuesday, when he was being interviewed by Fox News. And the question was, you know, why isn't Nikki Haley getting out of the race? What could possibly be going on? She's down, like, in her home state by 25%. 25%. Yeah, not like 2,500 votes, 2,500%. Come on. Well, his answer was, you know, some people just don't. She may not know how to get out of the race. And that's a very mindful answer. Because I'm sure all his minions are talking to Trump, you know, his friendlies, his advisors, and all that stuff. And the magic to that answer is, you know, you got all these pollsters saying, oh my God, you're doing so wonderful. You got your close advisors. Oh, you're doing great. Look at all the people with the signs, you know, jiggling up and down. Now, part of that is because they're enthusiastic for their candidate. The other part is they want to keep getting paid. If she pulls out of the race, their Friday check is the last check they see. It's over. Bam, just like that. It's like a bomb drops. No more. You get rid of all these people in all these other places. And include, yeah, I mean, she's got this relatively large staff of people that do nothing but, you know, pump the pump. And if she pulls out of the race, they all go home. And they got to go find something to do. Including pollsters. Oh, yeah, polling results are it's looking better this week. Yeah, Bupkis, it's looking terrible. What's the matter with it? You know, I mean, it's, don't tell me it's looking good. It's a disaster. You know, so Fox and Friends this morning, you know, had their usual, let's go to the big local diner, restaurant, whatever, and get everybody to show up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You put on your show that starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? There's 3 hours of prep and setting up the lighting and and your cameras and the satellite feeds and all this stuff. 6 a.m. How many of you for Trump? The whole place stands up and goes crazy. How many of you for Nikki? Oh, I'm for Nikki. Yeah. One person in the corner is for Nikki Haley. Everybody else in the whole room is for Trump. It's, you know, that's got to be a signal of where that's this morning. Today, everyone votes. Now, they had 200 and something thousand that voted early. We just had like a day or two voting early, and then today. So at 8 o'clock tonight, you know, well, at 7:30 tonight, you know, the talking heads are going to be talking about, you know, the polling results that's coming in, you know, the precincts. And you're going to find out that, you know, she's lost the fourth or fifth straight in a row. You know, when you start winning states, She says, well, we don't coronate our people. No, but how about winning one state? Well, one? She said, in New Hampshire, it's another open primary state where you have Democrats that can vote in the Republican primary. Now, how nuts is that? They need to change that. See, these Democrats are smart. They figure, hey, let's Democratic donors are giving Nikki Haley money, so she stays in the race. Now, why do you think they're doing that? Because the more Nikki Haley beats on Trump, by somehow trying to eke out a victory, which ain't going to happen, okay? Then that's like advertising dollars. Yeah, let her beat up Trump. Then we don't have to as much. Or not as much, we'll do it also. Everybody beat on Trump. See if we can get this guy to go away. He ain't going away. U.S. imposes new sanctions over Ukraine war. Yeah, really? What are you waiting for? You've been in this war for 2 years. You haven't done anything to Russia. Except quiver. He's not losing any sleep at night because I guarantee you, 7 o'clock, he's horizontal. Bagging Z's. He works a 6-hour day. And when he works a 6-hour day, there ain't a lot of stuff going on. He'll meet somebody. He'll have one meeting with somebody during that 6-hour period. At 11 o'clock he'll meet with somebody. Then he'll have lunch for an hour and a half. And now you're into 1:30 or 2, and he's only got a few more hours and he's done. It's terrible. Well, that's why nothing's getting done. And that's why your gasoline prices are $3.50 a gallon. Meanwhile, Tesla is trying to get me to we lease a Tesla. We didn't buy it. We didn't buy it and finance it. Leasing is the best way to drive a car. You don't care who owns it. It's a matter of how much does it cost per mile for you to drive that car. How much does it cost per month to drive that car? Do you really care who's on the certificate of title? Most states, the titles, you don't even get to see the title. It's held in the vault of the person who did the financing. Yeah. So Tesla wants us to lease another one because our lease is due on June 11th. June 11th marks 3 years and a day. June 10th is 3 years total. So the guy that runs the state of Florida, his name is Mike. Mike calls me on the phone, sends me a text message actually, and then we spoke on the phone for a while, quite a while. Like half-hour phone call. That's pretty nice. Guy's a regional guy with Tesla. I got a few questions to ask, which of course I ask. I'm technologically aware of the car. I'm technologically aware of the improvements that they've been making to the vehicle over a 10-year period, actually, including the last 3 years. And the new cars have, the cars for 2024 have all new cameras. So instead of the 1080p cameras all the way around, Now they've got high definition cameras all the way around. And they have a supercomputer that's more super duper than the supercomputer that was already in there. It's supposedly 40 times more super duper than a computer that's already in that I have right now to handle all this data, all this visual data. Plus they added, if I remember correctly, a high definition radar. They pulled radar out, putting radar back in. Because there's times when the weather is so inclement, you can't see out the windshield. Well, if you can't see out the windshield, then the cameras don't work, all around the car. They're supposedly, they're going to protect you. With autopilot, full self-driving, whatever. So they decided, you know what? We can't really. We need that radar put back in there, Elon, because he shot off his mouth and said, "Hey, we have eyes, don't we? We look out the windshield and we can see how to drive the car. We don't have radar stuck on top of our head." No, but we also, would like to not get in an accident if the weather's really, really, really bad. And the radar sees things that your eyes can't. Elon. So, anyway. But you have to be nice to Elon because he's the resident smart guy. And he's I don't know if he's a hothead. He's a tough guy. Remember I was talking about tough guys earlier? In the first half of my broadcast. Well, tough guys. He is a tough guy, so you don't want to be abusive with him or you might be somewhere else. But anyway, his technology team said, Elon, we need to put the radar back in there. Okay, we need, 4-letter word, need to put the radar back in there. Regardless of what you previously said, we want to make the car even safer. How about that? He says, all right, you gotta put it back in, So they upgraded all the cameras and they put the radar in. Now I'm going to, because I'm interested in leasing a new one, and they want me to start the lease 2 months early with no penalty. As a matter of fact, not only no penalty, they'll give me, like a $500 worth of incentives. Like wear and tear. I got a dent on the side of my door. It's a serious dent. I mean, it's not dented in totally, but it's a dent about the size of this. And it's a deep dent. This stupid car, Anyway. So, $500 worth of incentives. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of the door. And I said, well, I'm worried about you guys, stick it in my ear when you see the door. It's not terrible, but it's, it cost me $400 or $500. He says, don't worry about it. We'll do it. And it's all part of this. We want you to lease another new car. The faster we get you people to turn in your other cars, the faster you all get better technology, better computers. It's all around better, smoother, it's quieter. We've done a lot in 3 years to make the car a better car. I said, I believe it. I am confident that you guys have done everything you possibly could. You've attracted the best talent there is in the world into the Tesla teams, multiple teams. I mean, just think of the factories, I mean, the factories are like You know, he wants to make a few more cars. They just turn the speed dial up, you know, on all the lines. I mean, it's 95% computer and robot oriented assembly lines. Now you have to service the robots, so you got people running around servicing the robots because they need a little squirt of oil, or they needed this or needed that. They could fall out of adjustments, you know, fine tuning. I mean, the robots are really unbelievable pieces of equipment that are precision down to the millimeter, you know, of lining stuff up and how much, you know, welding to do. And anyway, these robots are unbelievable. And so, since 95% of the assembly of the car is automated with this robotics and stuff, then what's left to build the car? The price of all the little pieces. You know, it used to be 8,000 pieces. Now it's down to like 3,000 pieces. Parts, actual parts, screws, washers, nuts, bolts. And so as time goes on, you can say, well, how much are all the parts? So, I mean, they could put a, I'm sure they do already. But if they wanted to move cars, they can drop the price. You know, I mean, they're making a lot of their own parts. They actually have a part count. Now the question is, how many, and they know the answers to this. I'm just asking rhetorical questions. But, you know, with the total, how many parts do they have to buy from the outside? Put it that way. And that would be subject to market fluctuations, you know, supply chain issues, you know, where they got cut off with a certain parts. Not cut off totally, but just restricted because, you know, supply chain delays, you know. So Teslas are, you know, a lot less prone to suffer cost constraints than all the other car manufacturers, because 95% of the Tesla assembly line is robotic. Robots can work 3 shifts a day. They don't get tired. They don't go on strike. They don't call out sick on the day after Super Bowl. That's the biggest call out sick day in corporate America every year. Anyway, so people lined up to go vote. That's good. People get excited about who to vote for. That's what makes America great. Make America great again. I just received, I'm not going to go into this in detail, but You know, in the world of ballistics, which I'm sure 90% of this audience could care less about what I'm now going to say. But I'm a man of many interests. And in the world of ballistics, there's a thing called muzzle velocity. That's the speed of the bullet as it leaves the end of the barrel of a pistol or a rifle or whatever. So, the ballistics of a bullet, just happen to have one here. A typical little guy right there. A brass, and this is one of the same kind of size. It's a 9mm. Now you notice the shell casing, other than color, is exactly the same. Now, the silver bullet has a little longer projectile than the bullet itself. Inside the casing is gunpowder, and in the end is a primer. It's in the middle. You can see that round. That's called the primer. You get this autofocus to zero in on, so it's possible. Anyway. Well, there are tolerances. You know, this stuff is all very sophisticated physics and ballistics and energy calculations and safety calculations. You know, how much gunpowder can you put in there and have it safely eject a bullet out of there with consistent ballistics, you know. So they come up with the number of grains of gunpowder that you can put in there and how fast it burns. The burn rate is also an efficiency factor. You know, these big bullets that you see come out of these real strong rifles, you know, the burn rate is actually slowed down a little bit. They use a gunpowder that burns just a little bit slower because the bullet has to travel the length of a 25-inch barrel or something. So they slow the burn rate down a little bit, so the total pressure that's behind that bullet doesn't exceed reasonable tolerances. You don't want the whole damn thing to blow up, you know. It is like a cannon that you walk around with. Well, and pistol ballistics, same thing. They say you put in, 25 grains of. I have no idea what I'm now talking about. But I'm just going to say, a typical bullet has 25 grains of gunpowder in it. So what happens if we put 30 grains of powder in there instead of 25? Let's call that the plus P. Plus P. P for power. More power. Can we put just a little more gunpowder in there and make it a hot round, we'll call it? Well, they've done it. The 9mm has now come up. These guys, jacketed hollow point, carbon, and it's a jacketed hollow point. And here's some ballistics you can see on there. If you can possibly read that. Oh boy. There we go. Oh, 1,350 feet per second energy. So this bullet has a muzzle velocity of 1,350 feet per second. That's So instead of 1,000 feet per second, it's 1,300 feet per second. So let's just say you're getting a 25% boost in speed of that bullet coming out. And that's for 115 grain bullet. So it's not, like a 60 grain bullet where you have a, low weight bullet. And this is the standard 115 grain bullet coming out at 25% faster. So when it hits the subject, the target, watermelon, whatever, it delivers more energy into what you're shooting. If it's a paper target, doesn't matter. But if it's a piece of wood, or if it's the enemy, these 9mm are carried around by, international troops. This is a 007 round. Yeah. Matter of fact, 007, he was carrying around a Walther, a 380 auto. The 380 is diminutive in ballistics compared to a 9mm Parabellum, they call them in European markets. 9mm shell. Very standard. It's very accessible. Target practice costs you 35 cents a shot. 3 shots per dollar. Now those plus Ps, they're like 80 cents a shot. So it's more than double. But it's a hot round. So if you're, trying to defend yourself, I would load the plus Ps and the handguns that I have laying around here in case we get it home invaded. I should say, I should have a sign on my door that says, my 2 best friends are Smith and Wesson. Smith and Wesson is a 100-year-old company that makes rifles. Speaking of making rifles, I don't know, I should have one of these reminder things. I don't know, maybe it didn't come up on Flipboard. But Remington is a New York-based company that's been making rifles. I mean, they had Remington Road, right? And Gunpowder Way. It's Remington's 200 years, right? 200 years. This is 2024. So in 1825, small town, there it is. Small town loses its identity. You're looking right here. I was too slow in getting my camera out. The oldest firearms manufacturer in the United States, maybe even in the world, is leaving New York. This whole town works at the Remington factory somewhere. They're hauling ass out of New York State. They're out of here because New York State has gone way overboard. I mean, can you imagine? They're penalizing Trump for doing nothing wrong. And they're making him put up $500 million in cash while he fights the case where he's done nothing wrong. I mean, we have a thing that's, the courts of equity, meaning, all these guys are lined up and they've shown, that you've mistreated them, You know, you broke the law to ingratiate your own profits at their expense. Well, guess what? There was no one online. The banks lined up and said, "Oh, this customer is a whale." You know, there'd be 10 banks bidding against each other to get Trump business, and we're talking global banks. We're not talking some piggy bank on Fifth Avenue. Not that there are any piggy banks on Fifth Avenue that could possibly pay the price to have offices on North Avenue. The finest financial institutions in the world are in Manhattan. Well, this goofy-ass judge in New York State has just decided that Trump owes the New Yorkers an engorgement. That's one of those fancy terms. We're going to take it from your financials. We're going to just scoop it out. Engorge. Because he decided to put some of his own values on some of his real estate. Well, you know, Mar-a-Lago is probably a property that is almost than an appraiser, if he got that assignment, other than the fact that he'd be looking at a $50,000 fee probably to figure out how do you do an appraisal on Mar-a-Lago. There isn't. That property is so unique. You know, like when you do a house. All right, so you got a house. Find another house that's similar to that house. Find another house that's similar to that house. And you find 5 or 6 houses that's similar to the house you're trying to appraise. And you do pluses and minuses. Well, this has got a better view. This has got a better patio. You know, you do the balance, you know, the adjustments to the appraisal, to the comparatives. And that's how you come up with a market value appraisal, which you don't have 5 or 6 other Mar-a-Lagos to compare Mar-a-Lago with. You don't have Mar-a-Lago and Mar-a-Laggy and Mar-a-Lag-C. No, all you got is Mar-a-Lago. It's an impossible property to appraise. It's almost worth whatever the hell the seller would take. And I don't think Trump would take, I don't think he'd take $1 billion for Mar-a-Lago. You know what he, less than, let me think, I want to get this number right. He paid less than $9 million. He wouldn't take 90 million, and I don't think he'd take 900 million. There's nothing like it. It goes from the intercoastal all the way to the ocean on the southern tip of Palm Beach, which in itself is like an irreplaceable, unbelievable piece of real estate. I think it's 54-acre site, 54 acres on the entire southern tip of the island of Palm Beach. Okay? Makes it, you know, a little convenient for this, you know, Secret Service. As an ex-president, Secret Service are all over Mar-a-Lago, all over the place. There's probably 6 or 8 Secret Service detail just looking after Mar-a-Lago. Because even though he's not there, they still have to look after it because, you know, you don't want the bad guys sneaking up on it and hiding out until the president shows up. You know, I'm being a crazy guy, but so you can't say, okay, Secret Service, you can go back to Atlanta for now because Trump ain't here. No, they have to stay there because you have, you know, multi-story. You got a couple layers of, what do you call it? Subterranean, you know, basements. And then you got 3 stories above. So you got 5 stories worth of improvements that you got to deal with. You got pools, you got pool houses, you got gate houses, you got you got all these places for bad guys to hide out. So, like in a gatehouse, so you put a guy in there. And then you got to put a guy walking around the gatehouse in case someone shoots the guy in the gatehouse. Yeah, I mean, so you need like 8. I mean, I'm plucking a number. I don't know what the number is. But a guessing man, there's got to be 8 or 10 people, Secret Service people, that are detailed to that property. Somewhere between 6 and 10. 24/7. For the rest of Trump's life, or for the rest of Trump's ownership of Mar-a-Lago. Because that's just one of his properties. He has others, but this is his residence. So, according to the Secret Service details, they protect the residence of the president. Well, it just happens to be a huge estate when you're dealing with a guy that's worth $5 billion or $10 billion, whatever number of billions. That's the one nice thing about having a president that's worth a lot of money. No one can get in his pocket, in his back pocket, so to speak. All right. I've been yakking here for, part A and part B for, 59 minutes and 25 seconds. This segment is 41 minutes and 56 seconds. So tonight's news will be totally saturated with another defeat for Nikki Haley, probably. And Trump coasts to a victory in South Carolina. South Carolina's big. That's kind of the... I'm going to show you a picture. This is so unbelievable as I scroll through my pictures. Now look at that. You can see... let me give you... let's swap cameras. Now that's the picture of a moon taken with my iPhone. Now is that nuts or what? That's a moonrise. We look straight east and look at that picture. You can see the craters of the moon. Oh, the shadowy, moon texture that we can see. It's unbelievable. I took one this way. There we go. That's just with the iPhone, babies. iPhone 15. iPhone 15 Pro. They have it's a special, it has a prism, but it's got a dual prism. Somehow or other they put a prism with a prism and they get up to 5x of optical zoom with this dual prism technology that only Apple has. A patented technology, I might say. And I wonder if they did a triple prism. Could they get to 7.5? Anyway, I've been trying to look up and see, what is Apple going to come out next? This iPhone is unbelievable. It actually keeps track of my my broadcasts and how much time I'm spending on air. Anyway, I just wanted to show you my lunar illusions. When the moon comes up on a moonrise, it's not as bright as it is against a black sky. And it's extremely difficult with that contrast ratio of 500,000 to 1 to be able to take a picture of it. But look at that. That's like crazy. That's with an iPhone. I promise you. Let's see if I can pull the image information. There you go. iPhone 15 Pro Max, JPEG. 5 megapixel image. 120 millimeters. At f2.8. 120 millimeters, you know, based on the imager size and all that. I mean, that's full zoom, full optical zoom on the Pro Max. See, and you can see, does it give the date and time? Oh, yeah, there it is. February 23rd, that's yesterday, at 6:11 p.m. 6:11 p.m. 6:11 p.m. 6:12 p.m. Huh? That's a minute later. I stood there for a couple minutes, took a few pictures, and sat back down. Unbelievable. There you go. This GPS data. 6:11 p.m. Marilyn said, "Hey, look at the moon." I said, "Oh my God, look at that! Let me get a picture of that." You know, because when it comes up like that, and you know it's just cutting through the haze, that's the perfect time to take that shot. All right, say goodnight. Say goodnight, Marilyn. Good night, everybody. Have a nice weekend. We'll talk to you Monday morning, probably, with the South Carolina election results.